South Carolina Congressman James Clyburn, the assistant Democratic leader. Sir, it's good to have you on with us this morning. House Republicans may consider military cuts as part of a compromise. Is that something that you could get behind and support, and is it enough, the big question, to get a deal done?
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, no, that's not enough. The fact of the matter is that always was on the table as far as I'm concerned. You have got to close these deficits with revenue. Why should we continue to ask senior citizens to pay $6,000 more per year for Medicare benefits and say to a company that's sending jobs overseas, you're going to continue to get tax breaks? We must close these loopholes and bring revenue into this process. We must, to the millionaires and billionaires, we are no longer going to allow you an additional $200,000 per year in tax cuts when we're saying to students, there's no money for you to go or to pay to go to school. That's the stuff that's here. No one has ever asked anybody to raise any tax rates.
Right.
We are talking about closing the loopholes that grant preferences to people when they should not have them.
Sir, with the deadline to raise the debt ceiling just 5 weeks away, being August the 2nd, do you think that President Obama is the key to getting all of this done, especially since we've seen what happened with the Biden talks and Cantor walking out?
Well, yes, the president was always the person that had to close the deal. Remember when Cantor walked out of the meeting, it was either the last or next to last meeting. Thursday of last week was scheduled originally to be our last day meeting, and maybe we were asked to keep Friday open just in case. But he left the meetings before we had that Thursday meeting. We always intended to do what we could do, then move it up to the president and the Speaker of the House and the leader of the Senate to close the deal, to put the final package together. We were never we were looking for common ground, looking for a framework and passing the framework on to them. Now, his leaving the meeting simply means that the thing got kicked up a day or two earlier than expected. So it was always going to be a closer by these three people sitting down after we had developed a framework.
Now, Vice President Biden is going to be in these White House talks today. However, I want you to take a listen to what he had to say about the talks so far over the weekend.
We're never going to solve our debt problem if we ask only those who are struggling in this economy to bear the burden and let the most fortunate among us off the hook. Not because we want to douse it. This is not populism. It's just fairness. Not only is it unfair to do what they're calling about, I think it borders on being immoral.
Sir, would you agree with the Vice President that the Republican plan right now is immoral? I know you mentioned how it's doing against seniors, but is it immoral to expect more from the least among us?
Absolutely, absolutely. I find it very interesting. As one who was born and raised in the parsonage, I always find it very interesting that people talk all about their fundamental Christianity and all these other religions, all of which teach love, all of which teach taking care of the poor, all of which talk about doing for the least of these, yet they continue to heap burden upon people who can stand it the least. The fact of the matter is, you cannot possibly square with the word fairness giving $200,000 tax cut to a billionaire. At the same time, you raise benefits for Medicare on people with fixed income by $6,000 a year. That is immoral. In fact, I would go further than the Vice President. That is un-American. That is not the American way. The American way is to have compassion in this government. And when we talk about compassion, not just for poor people, it's compassion for everybody. Have compassion for that small business that's trying to make it. They have compassion for those middle-income people who are trying to keep their children in school. Have compassion for homeowners who are trying to pay their mortgages and not have to find themselves out on the street. These are the kinds of things that ought to be going into our decision-making, and we ought not be doing everything we can to take care of millionaires and billionaires and to send jobs overseas. Look at, for one instance, corporate jets are allowed 7 years of depreciation, while commercial jets cannot have but 5 years of appreciation. That's the kind of compassion. Let's square this stuff up. That would save somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 some odd billion if corporate jets for CEOs had the same depreciation that commercial jetliners have. This is the kind of preferences that have been given to wealthy people that nobody else in our society has, and we need to clean that up, close these loopholes, be fair to the American people, have policies going forward that all of us can be proud of. Nobody can be proud of this kind of a policy.
Congressman James Clyburn, sir, thanks for coming on and joining us this morning.